anybody who just came in, you should come, feel free to fill in these seats if you want.
And we also have mats if you're comfortable, if you're able to sit on the floor, there's mats too.
Make yourselves at home.
Yeah, please do.
Hi.
Hi. So this is Eli Nixon. You use they, them pronouns. I'm Greta Bank. I use she, her pronouns. First, I would like to acknowledge that we are here at Speedwell in the city of Portland on the unceded land of the Wabanaki Confederacy, including the Penobscot, the Passamaquoddy, the Maliseet, and the Micmac people. We are recording this today, and so for those that are watching the recording, or if you're visually impaired, I want to describe myself. I have long black hair and a silver beard. I have speckled glasses, and I'm wearing a brightly colored, I think it's kind of like known as a Hawaiian shirt that has volcanoes and foliage on it.
And dinosaurs.
And dinosaurs and spaceships, which were appliqued on. And I have on a gray sweater, and I have on pants, blue pants with Cookie Monster on them, and purple sneakers.
Hi, I'm Eli. I use they, them pronouns. I am a pale-skinned modern human with a black hat on with a horseshoe crab on it, and a Jurassic shirt with ferns and green dinosaurs, and a fluorescent sweatshirt that is safety yellow, green, and greenish pants and orange sneakers. And I'm sitting next to Greta.
Yeah.
Waiting for something to happen.
Yes, it's all about to explode. So one of the things that we thought we would kind of explain off the bat is how I've invited Eli to have this pop-up show about their blood tide holiday for the horseshoe crab proposal and nature drag. Is that fair?
Yeah.
And how that kind of percolated and came out as, oh, I forgot to do some more thanks. Can we pivot for a second?
Pivot every time.
Woo! All right. So before we get into that, I did want to say a huge thank you to Speedwell and the board for supporting this project, for Deepfake in particular, and also supporting Eli's pop-up visit and this talk. This was like about a year in the making. Annika and I started talking about doing a residency, which is a really special part to how this project came about, in that I had from January up until last week this space to myself to generate this project. And we started talking about that almost a year ago with a tiny budget, and then that allowed, hello darling, that allowed time for that to grow and percolate, including finding grant funding and support. And so Deepfake was generously supported by the American Rescue Plan from the National Endowment for the Arts, as well as the Horizon Foundation. And also a really awesome group of people that I want to make sure I thank. Lisa, Kyle, Derek, Bianca, Ruby, Bob, and most importantly, this labor of love is with Scott Peterman, my partner. This is truly a collaboration, which he has yet to agree on to that fact, but I literally stood on his shoulders throughout this process, including upwards of a month ago when myself and my elderly parents were really sick with COVID. And he just held the fort, took care of us, and also helped to build out the blanket fort while we were recovering for some weeks. Yeah. And also the gallery, a huge thank you to Speedwell that actually adjusted the timeline and allowed this project to open later than originally scheduled to really give it time to be finished based on that kind of surprise insult. Okay.
Wait, I'm bookmarking that also
Okay.
because I think that interruption of real time is part of what's also going on.
Okay, yes. All right. Come back to that, remember? Okay, so back to, I just wanted to quickly put some context in here of, as I'm working on this project, no clue what I'm doing, building this out. It was inspired by my beginning knowledge of a supervolcano that existed here in this territory over 400 million years ago. And I can speak more about that in a little bit, but mostly it was me kind of following and watching Eli's art, who's resides in Rhode Island, and seeing the work that they were doing regarding horseshoe crabs and geologic time. And I just approached them and I was like, I'd really like to talk to you more because I feel like there's a lot of affinity. It may look different, it may sound different, but it smells exactly the same. Yeah. So so I wanted to start there and kind of open that up as an introduction for you to share with everyone. I think my understanding is that the book is amazing, but it's not necessarily, a book in itself. That is just a vehicle towards something a lot more dynamic and important.
Yeah, there's your vacuum manual, and then there's your vacuum. And I think of the book as like the manual, and the holiday as the vacuum.
Yeah. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Sure, but I'm giving my own self-context first.
Okay.
Because I want to just bring Kelly Nesbitt into the room, who is a common friend of mine and Greta's from a million years ago.
Yeah.
500,000 maybe.
Yeah.
And it was some kind of reconnection of like Greta's working on deep time things when Kelly came through in real time and visited Greta and then me, and then talked to us both about it, and was a human telephone being like, you're both in this weird world together, you should find each other again.
Yes.
And so then we found each other.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, do you want a little weird wart of a room on the side of my volcano?
Yeah.
And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, so we're just also learning about, while you're here listening to us talk, we're learning about how these things are and are not in conversation and connected as well, I would say. Because you read my book, whereas I am just arriving at this moment in your world.
Yes.
Which is so cool. And definitely has a lot of resonance. And I'm glad to start anywhere. I guess this is what you asked me before. Where did I want to start?
Yeah.
And I avoided this question.
Yeah. I think some basics just in terms of why horseshoe crabs.
Sure. Oh yeah, I could say about that.
Yeah.
Totally. So yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about what is happening around this proposal that I'm making to you all right now, in fact. I hope it's consensual. You did opt in by coming here. But I feel as though there's a plenitude of holidays that many of us celebrate that have very little resonance with the things that we actually need or desire or are in awe of or need healing around or like are motivational in any kind of communal or individual refortification, which I like to think a holiday is or is about. And I have like a sort of, we celebrated whatever CVS was celebrating relationship with holidays growing up, because my dad was a real intense scientist, and we were mostly celebrating organisms. And I was tracking myself, and I felt as though he was tracking me as one of many organisms. And that was a really helpful framework, I think, to navigate the world in, that allowed my weird trans queer self to exist as an anomalous organism amidst many other nearly inexplicable things. And I think that, to me, I mean, I probably spent time with horseshoe crabs when I was 2 or 3 on the beach and then onward for every summer. And it was helpful to have a 450 million year ancestor, relative, companion.
Yeah, I'm not sure most folks know that how old horseshoe crabs are.
Oh, you're prompting me. Yes. So, sorry. I'm like, so the cool thing about what's happening is that there's a holiday that I'm proposing in homage to horseshoe crabs, and at the same time, because it's a holiday and because it's an organism that's 450 million years old, there's a time problem that happens every time you talk about it. You're interrupted by the very absurdity of attempting to capture whatever you're trying to squeeze in that moment as opposed to the 450 million years. But yes, I have visual aids. A horseshoe crab, this is why I make performance and I don't chat, is because I don't know how to
props.
So this is a cardboard horseshoe crab. I mean, is there anyone here who has never seen a horseshoe crab carapace? No shame. So, wow, we are in Maine. Yeah, so there, this miraculous, there's one in there, actually. This feels so weird, actually. Why is it all the way in there? Hold on. Wait, this is where it is a clown show. Yeah, I can't do this. I don't know how to talk. I'm disembodied in a, what are we doing? This, sorry, I got caught in some, we're in a gallery moment where I felt like I couldn't move this stuff.
We're inside a volcano.
Yeah, this is a horseshoe crab carapace, and I'm in love with horseshoe crabs. And I felt underwhelmed about the variety of holidays available to pass on to my own human offspring. And I tried to write a terrible play in which I had sort of shoved words inside of horseshoe crabs and red knots, the birds that depend on horseshoe crabs for their eggs, which fuels their 9,000-mile migration from the bottom of Tierra del Fuego to the Canadian Arctic and back every year. And this amazing little migrating bird is very popular with birders, and they were tracking its demise and sort of noting that as the failure of the horseshoe crab as fuel source. And that was troubling to me as someone who was coming at it from the horseshoe crab angle, that it's, but at the same time, you're like strange bedfellows, right? It's like when suddenly you and the libertarians or something. Anyway, but it's I guess my feeling was that we were in a global pandemic. I had an offer to write a book. They were going to publish a terrible play. That was nerve-wracking because I'd already learned it wasn't a good play. And so I was like, shit, I better hurry up and figure out what it is if it's not a terrible play. And then I had a crisis. And I spent 2 weeks inside of a cardboard horseshoe crab carapace on a hillside checking myself for ticks, which is one of horseshoe crab's closest living relatives, and having this whole cycle about blood, because we're taking horseshoe crab blood simultaneously to test all of our vaccines and surgical equipment apart in a whole biopharmaceutical web of sort of actually generated need, because we have available synthetics. Anyway, that's if you want to know more about that, read the book. But
yeah, it's in the book.
It's in the book. But there is this. So I was in this blood problem of feeling creeped out by ticks in my cardboard horseshoe crab, having this book that's about to publish a bad play, feeling so disembodied. Everybody's isolated. I'm in this residency that I'm supposed to be so excited to be alone at. And I've been I've been alone for a year and a half. I've got this fucking shitty play that is going to press. And then I was like, it's a holiday. And I it exploded, it erupted is what it did. And then it transformed into a holiday. And then in order for it to be even as legible as it might be as a holiday, even to begin to be understood as a holiday, it felt like it needed a manual. And so then I wrote a manual, which now is miraculously unfolding in moments like this, where suddenly I'm talking to you in a deep fake volcano. And at the library in Providence, where I've been building a 450 million year timeline of organisms out of recyclables with about 300 people over the last 9 months. And everybody's invited on April 15th to come. It's an ancient interruption of tax day. And from 1:30 to 3:30, the Undertow Brass Band and me and Marco Wick-Williams and Vadik Kumba are all gonna do a show where I'm gonna propose my holiday thing. But actually you don't need to come to that because you're gonna hopefully come to the thing tomorrow night and already see it. So don't, you can come to the library anytime. Don't rush. 450 million years.
Yeah.
And so just now what's cool is that the holiday has already had a manual, now is unspooling out of my hands. People write to me and tell me they're celebrating the holiday in ways I never could have anticipated. There's a room full of things that will happen while you're all here that I don't know about, that will be holiday inspired.
Yeah.
We're gonna sing karaoke tomorrow night. That's my proposal for an underused form of, I think, popular. Everyone should just feel free to come in and feel free to have a seat, or if you want to sit on the floor, make yourselves at home. Yeah. I'm getting out my primordial duster.
We've got we've got mats if you're able and you want to sit on the floor. Yeah.
I'm just going on and on. I don't even know.
No, that was amazing. I think that's really great because it helps folks to have a little bit of context since this is, I think people know more right now about this guy, right? And so I'm really excited to introduce your project. And again, we're excitedly unpacking right now how they really kind of hold hands. Yeah.
Yeah, and we were talking last night, and I thought it was interesting. For me, I feel like the proposal of a holiday as some sort of like, I don't know, I would consider, similar to this, an offering to a public to engage with some kind of magnitude about our state.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a weird soft holiday. Like I have the gentle approach, and then you go in here and you're like fucking total pepperoni doomscape. We are dying. It's true. And then I'm like, better go celebrate horseshoe crap. So it does feel to me. I feel like we're in a loop of like the horror and the. I just went to a thing last night about healing. I don't want to call it healing. About time. Yes.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
No.
So
wait, I want the bat one.
Okay, we'll trade. So you get mackerel bat smoothie, yes. And I have neon metro sciatica.
Greta made these.
Yeah. So this is in case you haven't been. Is my audio okay now?
Oh yeah.
Okay. In case you haven't been into side to deep fake, you're invited to put on this shroud and wear it as you go into the volcano. And you're also welcome with a mat to lie down and be inside there. And I'm a little bit overwhelmed right now in terms of what to say about it, in terms of kind of the larger umbrella of ideas and taking care of that versus kind of geeking out on a lot of the like technical parts to it.
Geek out on the technical parts for it a little bit.
Can you
do that?
All right.
Because I feel like that for me, as someone, you'll see, it was sort of weird order. It would have been like a good design if this had already been here and you had looked at it and now we were talking about it. But whatever. This is all, again, here we are fucking with time.
I can't
like you can't
wait
have to go do
see
it later.
the show tomorrow. So yeah.
But I think if you talk a little bit about how you made some of this stuff and how you're
and why what the hell was I thinking?
Talk a little bit about how and why, and then because you already know why you came here, you can weave it in a little.
Okay. So I've already mentioned that about a year ago, I started to say, I have this opportunity and I want to make this volcano. And that had been, there's a lot of ideas that kind of sit in the shelves for years, and sometimes they coalesce and come together and build and become something. And so that's the evidence of what this is lots of different things that I'm fascinated with, and then marrying them in and finding these kind of really deep matrixial connections between all of it. So that first engagement was my kind of ignorance and fascination with the kind of charismatic quality of volcanoes, especially in geologic time. So this is me learning about something I don't know anything about, right? And that's something I like to do in my art, is learn new things, whether it's technical or also just new ideas. So I had just seen small articles about how there had been volcanoes, that volcanic activity along the coast of Maine and in central North Maine, and even super volcanoes.
What makes them super?
They're just bigger. Yeah, so I was very honored. I contacted a geologic scientist and professor at UMaine Presque Isle, Shunzeng Wang, and he's an amazing teacher, and he took the time to give me some intro right out of his Geology 101 class. And the exciting thing that I will share from that, and that I can dance to a song, but I can't sing the lyrics. So this is just a soft introduction if you're not already aware of that volcanic history. And how many people here know about the volcanic history here? Yes, all right, I'm putting you in charge. So mine was a very gentle introduction, in that I really wanted to use this kind of charismatic, emotional connection to what a volcano is, and to have it be of this place and time that we identify with here. And then to find out through Professor Wang that there was a super volcano here in like the Mount Katahdin region at Travelers Mountain, developing and exploding massively way over 400 million years ago. One of the biggest supervolcanoes that has ever existed on this celestial planet. And I feel like that is a vehicle for people to make a connection with. And then it really kind of flies off. And now we're going to talk about end stage capitalism and, and climate change, and the therapy, the self-help therapy that I got from learning about geologic time.
Totally.
And through the 5 mass extinctions, and learning to love the growth and life that is invisible to us, that has always been here, and to let that be our teachers in terms of the 5 stages of grief, right? Which I get a little performance anxiety, so I wrote them down because I don't trust myself to remember. So we have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And, I'm thinking a lot about the evanescence, or this kind of short burst of what humanity is in terms of geologic time, and trying to learn from that perspective by playing with this charismatic volcano, including this lovely shroud, which I had a really hard time naming, as Annika knows. This was inspired by resort wear, which is this like incredibly interesting part of fashion to unpack, which developed through leisure and pleasure, kind of what you know as beachwear, right? And so there's these garments that are very popular, very high-end silks with these extremely problematic patternings that are on them. And absolutely obsessed with them. So this was really playing with that and making fun of it and mimicking it. And that resort wear very much kind of exotifies places and all kinds of language of animals and nature and humans, and kind of co-ops it into these very pretty, soft silk caftans. And when you put them on, you go into this realm of denialism, right? So you're on this vacation, you're in this spot, and you're in this very fake illusion of pleasure and well-being, and it's all like literally behind walls of exploitation and extraction, right? So those are the kinds of things that I was trying to build into this very subconsciously, right? So maybe you're getting that, or maybe you're just feeling silly because you're joining my cult and you're coming in here and having this ritual experience as you join the volcano cult. Yeah. So those are, I think, a couple of touch points. Oh, and then the geodesic dome.
Talk about that.
That was just straight up like pandemic, months on YouTube, wandering, and spent a lot of time watching people build geodesic domes. Also, all the other things we could all share for a long time of how we coped with time and where we let our brains wander as we stayed in isolation. So one of the things I did was I really got into how cool and easy it looked to build a geodesic dome on YouTube. So I proposed again to Scotty that, yeah, we should do that. So this is a hubless wooden geodesic dome that is 3-frequency, 5/8. So the frequencies have to do with the amount of triangles to create the curvature. So a 1 or 2 frequency is pretty boxy, and the more triangles that built, you get more and more of a perfect curve, like you might identify from something like the Epcot Center or the Ball in Times Square. Yeah, and so this is built without any hardware. It's just lumber that has been beveled and making, what was it? Because we cut a door. What was the actual number of triangles? Was it 105? 99. Before or after we cut it up? Before. Okay, all right. Yeah, so 99 triangles just assembled one at a time, hanging out in our dining room and our kitchen. And again, honoring Speedwell, because nothing like this could have been built without that support to have this space. Because it's really big, and it's hard to live with.
And hard to live without.
You want a dome?
I do, actually. I have a yard.
Yeah, all right.
Just saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is why we should have written down those questions last night.
I mean, I can go on and on more about the dome, or we can pivot and start to connect it in with.
I think I'm curious if so one thing that I learned last night about that I knew nothing about, and I have no idea how much anyone else knows about it, is the relationship of like stock photography and AI and doom. Like, I found myself drifting away when you were talking about it last night, because I was like, oh, I just figured fungus or a storm or something. Like, I was like not thinking at all about technological collapse in any kind of way, because I was like, oh, it's probably just a fire or something. Like, I was just like submitting to natural forces. And then to hear you go down this really like intense, whoops, I keep throwing this thing around. I'm not used to being recorded. Big brother, this whole thing. So I think it's that, I guess I'm curious, because I feel like I'm on another frequency over here.
Yeah.
That is certainly in relationship
Yeah,
to all of this.
it's intentionally in opposition, wouldn't you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like, yeah, I guess I'm interested in both like the friction and the attraction between
Yeah.
the feeling of like, we're at the end, what do we do?
Right. And so, again, I think I mentioned this before, in that I have kind of a history of taking lots of different elements and combining them into an essay that gives just enough of everyone having their own impression or context from it, that they hopefully you end up with a bunch of questions that you can just relate to. So far, I think we're doing okay with that. So the title of the show is Deep Fake, which is the term for deep learning with artificial intelligence, which is, very, very hot right now. I don't know how much you're following in the news, but there's a lot of concern and fear and anxiety around deep learning and what's happening with AI. My interest in it is I'm a mediocre intellect, so I'm using what I need from it, and then I have very little to say with any sense of worth or authority past that. For me, there was a real clear aesthetic that we tried to build in terms of the imagery that is digitally printed inside. It's all from stock photography, and that was intentional, really kind of pulling in this images, and it's mimicking or it's faking what an AI generated image would look like. So it's purposefully kind of comical in terms of trying to imitate that misunderstanding of like that human cognitive ability of visual content. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't want to lose people on that. So I'm playing with a feeling that you recognize from that, and why. And it's really simple in that when we think about this term, the singularity, which is this theory about how and where and when we are evolving with technology until we are no longer just biologically humanoids. We are dependent on, connected with tech, right? And that's always been like, well, when's that happening, right? And it's not like Star Trek where we've got the tubes, and we get the like cool robot voices, and it's already here. It's happening. Like, I can't believe I put my phone over 6 feet away from me for this entire hour. And again, these very, very exciting, confusing times around deep learning that's happening. Reading about it every day, I'm learning new things. And there's a basic understanding that this is something we cannot control. And I am only using it in the sense of that conscious understanding that this is more powerful than us, and we've actually created this threat, this new apex threat, and it is us, right? And that same aesthetic of I made a volcano, and we're thinking about climate change, right? And this new mass extinction that we're trying to accept this, right? We're not there in the 5 stages of grief. And we are the volcano. We are this, this charismatic thing that we connect with as like a volcano is like a celestial lung. It's part of like connecting into all of the universe, but we also have this really this amazing understanding of its ability to create huge destruction and change out of this kind of hubris of our understanding of power. So we are the volcano, and that kind of same attachment or this frequency that we're recognizing as in our singularity with tech is there are ways for us to hopefully be a little bit more self-aware of what we all know, but it's too hard to absorb it. It's too hard. There's TMI
in there,
yeah,
for sure, TMI.
Yeah. And I just want to point out a couple things that are kind of like little important things that were put in there intentionally. Up at the top, there is an image from NASA, from the Tarantula Nebula, which is coming out of the new telescope. And, oh, cool, someone's calling us.
I'm so sorry.
No, let's answer it. And so that's my soft understanding, the Tarantula Nebula is really just being looked at now with this better imagery from NASA and the Webb telescope, is really teaching us. It's one of the closest examples that we have to understand the really early changes that were happening in the universe. So that's there in terms of playing around with space-time, human scale, and then there's
wait, space-time. Can you just?
That's all I got.
Okay. You don't have a number or anything.
No, definitely not. But then we have the human skeleton, and this was really important to me, and that it's looking down on you. And for me, again, now I'm just kind of sharing something in my creative practice. I was thinking a lot for a number of years about pronated burials, and this was a.
Wait, what's a pronated burial?
Yeah, it's where your body is placed face down as a form of punishment. So there's most of this. Yeah, well, this is evidence of this is usually kind of from the Roman era, or maybe even a little in the Iron Age. But there's where they find these evidence of bodies who were intentionally face down so that their souls could not reach into the celestial being. And I got really into the idea of like celebrating who these people were and what they were punished for. And, and I imagine they're just, these are powerful witches, got their heads decapitated, facing down by their feet, all these ways that the systems were meant to punish them. It's supposed to be an insult, but what if facing down into the planet, into our planet, is like the most amazing grace? Like if we start to think about magma and the iron core of the planet, which
and being horizontal and facing down.
Oh yes, yeah.
Go on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So that's a little Easter egg in there in terms of that you're meant to really respect that body's looking down into the center, and maybe that's like the coolest thing ever in terms of I think I'm good on that. Yeah. And then we've got pizza lava. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pyroclastic pizza lava. So, yeah. Or we have the cell phone tower. So those are things where, again, I'm playing around with very specific details about the environment and about our world. The use of pizza is not arbitrary. It's very funny, but it's also, my daughter has done a lot of her own effort to understand climate change and climate policy. And she had told me that that when pizza really started to become like a national pastime and then a global pastime, that need for the production of cheese, that changed that agricultural system, again, with our relationship with cows. Definitely not something that we probably think about as much as with the production of meat. But that to me was like, you know, that's why it came in there. So that's, again, that's honoring our impact.
This volcano as a, I don't know, like, I talk about queer futurism, but I think there's this feeling of like, well, I mean, it would be cool to be there when it's erupting. And the feeling of like, well, we sort of get to.
Yeah.
In terms of our own ability to create time, like currently, and like that it's like a sensual experience that maybe a lot of people actually were here for once already, at least, or in some other thing. You can pass it on if you don't like it, or you can just fondle it.
It's not like Noah.
No, you don't want those. That's so modern. Here you go. This is where any art gets better when you put on a fringe sleeve and you look at it through it and you go like this. And suddenly you're having your own. I'm sorry I don't have enough for everyone. You can pass them around or you can just fondle them. Because we need to set the tone, Greta, just real quick.
Got it.
This right here, okay, we're going to go like full-scale Unitarian hallway here, but this was 450 million years ago.
Yes.
And then just while we're at it, this I think is, I have these fabrics that were supposed to represent things to me, but now I've forgotten what they are. And it feels like a modern human problem. But that's like, you know, this is like 247.5 million years ago, and then this is this whole thing over here. Oh yeah, there we go. This is helpful. Birds. Birds have just recently arrived, which is cool. Hi. I know you from a million years ago. And let's see. Right here, what's this? Oh, this is 0. Horseshoe crabs are still here. Maybe you're just 0. There you go. And so if we had over here, this was, I think this is some kind of pollinators or something that I would have been before. Oh, sharks. There's some sharks. And so, like, it really, you get the general sense that, like, we can't see where Drew Christopher's arm is all the way over there, like that. So to imagine something so fleshy and new as ourselves, with so much yarn before us, and the ability at any point to project our will upon the future, which is that you sit down, and that you hold this for symbolic expanse. Yeah. Oh yeah, do whatever you need to do to make that not weird. Yeah. Thanks. Okay. I'm getting ready. I think this is when we start passing this around. Okay. And then this is gonna go, no, this one goes in your feet. Got it. And this one goes in your lap.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll take or drop the cardboard, guys. Like, you know. And then this. Hold on, I can't actually see. There we go. This is an extendable fork. This is a modern human measurement tool. Oh, I forgot that I have to be able to access the. Oh, we can hold it. Sure, yeah, that's great. You're right, you're on your own volcano here. Can you scoot out actually, or in the middle or something? Look at this. Yeah, that's better. Perfect. Thanks for your patience. I hope this part's okay. I know you thought you were going to talk. We just have to end it off, like with, you know. Come down a little. That's too big a volcano. And here goes like that. And then this this goes like this. And oops, flopper. Yep. And then you got that?
Yeah.
And then we're gonna go here. That is not inspiring. Hold on. There we go. Yeah.
Ooh.
All right, great. Yeah, see, that's what I needed, a little woo. And then let's put some primordial. Here's my pants. Here, we're gonna put some Jurassic material here. And then this can go here. Okay, are we ready?
Yeah. Yes.
Woo! Okay. I wanted to thank a few people, Modern Human in particular, Greta Bank, and Space Gallery for having me this weekend for a residency. My holiday proposal show is tomorrow night at 7. Come if you can. No one turned away for lack of funds. You can leave whenever you want. It's like an opportunity to practice your experience of free time. And also Jesus Cactus, whatever that may unfold. And I want to thank Speedwell for enabling my temporary little holiday world here. I hope you go draw on the wall when we're done. There's an invitation to do that. I remember what I wanted to talk about. Exquisite corpses. Just real quick, when you were talking about trilobites and the paleo art on top of the futuristic images and the space visions from the telescopes. And so personally, I've been doing a lot of exquisite corpse drawing with different groups of people in a similar, like, what don't we have control over, where can we release into whatever comes next without our exerting our control over it. What are all these ways that we haven't thought about moving our bodies that we can get to through drawing? And so I just have been choreographing some movement work with groups of actors using exquisite corpse drawing, and that's so fun. And you'll get to see some of the stuff that we drew yesterday as part of our Nature Drive workshop at Space, which was also an exciting way to think about the way in which both Greta and I use layers of information that isn't necessarily ours to help us see. Like which has 10 eyes and 2 lunar receptors. You ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. Thanks, everybody.
Celebrating a great life.
It's been real. I really think that you all came to the right place at the right time.
Sure.
And this is a prop that the piece of this thing that I forgot in the backup, so it's a real slow explosion at this moment. But it's happening in a real modern human kind of way. So the stickiest. Hold on. This is so priority. Okay, ready? Okay, so I would like you, Greta, this is your moment, man. I want you to take a couple of breaths. Oh my God, I just stepped on my chair. Here we go. Look, you can all do this collectively. Ah! Sorry. Hold on. I need you, this is real for a minute. You have to take a breath for a second. And when you're are you okay in there?
I'm awesome.
Great. When you breathe into this tube,
Yes.
I would like you to exhale all of the bullshit that makes you feel as though your modern human life must be rushed through, or your time more well managed, or your presence here less large or tiny. And I want you to take that feeling of constriction, of lateness, of FOMO, of should've, of not yet, of crap, I missed it, of oh, we're fucked,
And I want you to blow it out the top. And then
All right.
we'll be done. Or we will have just begun. Hold on, are you breathing? This isn't the time to take an imaginary breath. Hold on. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are.